Is a conversation between myself and my dear friend here, Sanchali, and we are going to be talking today about the future being a collective. So I'm Kristy Drutman. I am the founder and creator of my media company. Hundreds of thousands of people online, teaching them about climate education through stories of hope, positivity, humor, and joy. And I also am the co-CEO of Green Jobs Board, my company and platform series, and also a content hub teaching early to mid-career professionals on how they can enter and pivot into the green economy and find roles to work in climate. And I would love to have Sanchali introduce herself as well.
I'm Sanchali. I'm the founder and CEO of Commons. We are a sustainable spending app. It's the first finance tool you can use to save and spend not only for yourself, but also for the life you want to live in the world you want to live in. So we have information like in a budgeting tool. You might have used Rocket Money or NerdWallet or something like it. You can track and see where you're spending money and budget for yourself. You can also toggle into emissions mode and see the carbon footprint behind your purchases. You can earn rewards on sustainable purchases, including many of the brands here at PlanetHAUS, and redeem those rewards both for cash back at sustainable brands and for offsetting emissions that you can avoid, like travel or other expenses.
So I think what's incredible about both of our platforms is that we both built these platforms out of a desire to create more accountability, especially for folks. On my end of things, I had a lot of job seekers come to me and say, I really wanted to find a job in climate, but I don't know how to get started. And I'm seeing a lot of organizations and companies in the green space, having not too many, avenues for accessibility when it came to internships or fellowships or visibility about what those opportunities were. So, I built a platform that essentially can allow people to clearly see those opportunities, break down the barriers around trainings, resources, fellowships, and create content that could educate people in real time to make that information more accessible. And Sanchali, I wanted to know, with the work you do at Commons, talking a little bit more on how you guys are utilizing your platform to give consumers that sense of accountability around brands as well.
Yeah, I think it's really similar. For us, it both started as we were individuals who had a problem we were trying to solve for ourselves. And for me as a consumer, I was someone who liked to budget a lot, so I was budgeting in a spreadsheet, in an Excel spreadsheet, but I also wanted to understand the environmental impact of my purchases, and that was one of the factors I wanted to consider. It wasn't the only one, but it was one of the factors I wanted to consider. And so in my spreadsheet, I started tracking what I was spending, and then I started calculating the carbon emissions of those things I was spending money on, and it helped me make decisions. It helped give me the information I needed, where I was like, okay, I have these 3 trips I'm thinking about taking this year. Maybe I'll combine 2 of them so that I can have fewer flights. That saves me carbon, it saves me money. I'll just go for 2 weeks instead of going for 1 week, and I'll sort of make that a longer trip. So some of those decisions became easier for me when I could see the full cost of the decision making, and I wanted to make that easy for consumers, not because it's our fault, but because it's a way for us to hold companies accountable and to express our demand with our dollars. So that I wanted that to be easier for people. And I think that's what's become true in the Commons platform, is now that there's hundreds of thousands of people using the app, we can see where people are starting to shift their dollars, and that's having an impact on companies as well.
Yeah, and I think, with the work that we've been doing at Green Jobs Board, people are really enjoying this grassroots, authentic voice to bring online, especially when you're building a community in an intentional way. And so for us, it started as my journey as someone who was a recent college graduate who was passionate about working in climate, but felt like all these climate and summits and information was just hidden behind paywalls or gatekept, depending on who you knew and the types of resources you had access to. And so for us, we're now hosting our Green Jobs Pavilion Summits. We're going to be hosting one in San Francisco this Friday as one of our first summits to really break down those barriers and get more people into the room to talk about climate and those avenues that are more accessible to folks. And I want to know, Sanchali, you guys have accumulated an incredible following through content and storytelling. How has that also been able to allow brands you partner or work with, show themselves as authentic to your audience?
It's been super interesting. We started building our community because we wanted to have lots of people using the product and to understand what they wanted. We know that one person's choices don't matter, but lots of people's choices matter together. And that was really the impetus of like, if we have millions of people doing this, that's where each of our choices has more consequence. It's also how we learn faster as a business. Having that audience, we test new messaging, we test new ideas through Instagram, through our blog, through our podcast. Those become like sort of the out front ways that we communicate with people every single day. And we learn about what we should put in the app. So for us as a business, that was just, we wanted to accumulate an audience first for business reasons. And it's turned into something really interesting for brands as well, because a lot of the questions that brands ask is, but do people really care? Like, well, do you have the people who support this way of living? And we have the people and we can track their spending. So in aggregate, we can show shifts towards, like, for instance, we're going to release our 2025 impact report soon. And then we look at spending trends across people, especially Gen Z and millennials who are using our app. How are they shopping? And we're starting to see that a lot more people are shifting to secondhand, and it's not a little bit. It's like 200% in the last few years growth in that segment. And also in terms of sustainable brands, the categories people are spending more on are cleaning and personal care and supplements, where people are actually putting those things into their bodies or on their bodies, and they're concerned about the ingredients they're putting in their bodies. And so being able to tell companies we actually have quantitative information about how demand is growing in the specific customer segments you care about has been really powerful.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And, I've been seeing a similar trend with, even climate employers and people that want to hire in the space asking us, it's so hard for us to find talent who are passionate or skilled or fit this bill. And I'm like, well, we have 200,000 people who care about this, who are looking for these jobs and have the credentials, but we need you guys to give them a chance. And a lot of the feedback we've gotten from employers was like, well, can you curate more spaces? Can you create more avenues to where we could have, more curated talent pools? And that's exactly what we're building. We're launching our tech platform this spring that is a software as a service platform where job seekers will be able to make profiles, and employers will also be able to have candidate tracking tools to actually be able to find ways to find passionate climate individuals and talent to do that talent matching and actually educate each other and provide that mentorship to get to that next level of green career growth. And people always ask about impact, so I love that you talked about developing an impact report. Can you share an anecdote or a story about a win you've seen with a brand working with you guys?
Yeah, actually, one that comes to mind is Girlfriend Collective. There's some sell athletic gear. They didn't get a great rating in our first review. We have an in-house team that does expert and data-driven ratings of brands, so we can determine which purchases people should be getting rewards for and we should be helping shift dollars towards. So in our first, I think they got a 2 out of 5 in our rating scale, and that was because they hadn't published a sustainable materials strategy. They use a lot of plastics. They have a lot of recycled plastics, and at some point they wanted to shift off of that. So their brand representatives actually emailed us. We have a tool in the app where you can email a brand their rating. So if you shop from a brand often and you see that they have a rating you don't love, there's a button you can press to just automatically send them the summary of the rating and say, hey, I'm a customer, I would really like you to improve these things. And so we had maybe 5 customers email them. It wasn't a lot, but because they got 5 emails in a row, relatively quickly after each other, their brand rep actually reached out to us, and we gave them the specific breakdown of where they could improve. They went back, they were publishing their next sustainability report. They were able to use that to advocate for stronger emphasis on sustainable materials in their goals in the next few years and actually make clear commitments that they were going to work towards. So we were able to improve their score in the app. Once they published that, all of our ratings are based on published information, publicly available information, and so they had to make that public commitment in order to improve their score. And then this year we'll see if they've actually met that commitment, and if so, then they'll continue to have a better score. So that was very exciting, and they loved it because their team is like, we're just looking for data on how do we advocate for this internally. We have to present this to our board, we have to say why we're doing it, and now we actually had data.
100%. And I think, what I'm hearing from, both of us is that when we're talking about building a collective, we need more stories, we need more data like this, and sometimes it requires grassroots efforts and civic tech to make it happen. And I think it's really amazing to be on stage with you as both women of color founders who are literally finding a gap in the market, meeting consumers where they're at, and really wanting to provide tools that can, make life easier for everyone. So final seconds for both of us, what is your short call to action. I'll say mine first and then I'll leave it to you. My call to action is if you're in San Francisco on Friday, would love for you to stop by our San Francisco Green Jobs Pavilion event. If you want more information, feel free to hit us up, but also check out Green Jobs Board online and we have our info on there too.
My is to download the Commons app. It's free. If you want to, you can link your spending and start to see the breakdown of where you're spending and the emissions and earn rewards on your sustainable purchases. But you can also just start by searching for your favorite brands and seeing what their ratings are.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
I guess I'm staying on stage. Let's go to MC. All right.